Now these two by the sounds of things, they had a problem with what they paid for. They wanted to return it, or they were overcharged, something along those lines. But instead of going back to the back of the line, they decided to go to the front of the line, cut every other civilized person in Woolworths off, scream like total lunatics. This is not conducive with Australian culture in any way, shape or form. You can see the couple in front of the camera right here and here. They're just giggling because they're like, whoa, these two barbarians won't shut up. They just keep screaming. It's not conducive with Australian culture, and this is what is becoming commonplace in Australia at the moment. But before we get started, make sure you click the subscribe button and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on anything. Feel free to follow me on my social media. Today I'm going to talk about a website called sydneytoday.com. It is run by Chinese people living in Australia, and their audience, from what I can gather, are Chinese people who have arrived in Australia. They're not smart enough to learn the language, or they just do not care to. So this is a Chinese language website. And my problem with this website is it seems that they are creating articles about Australia which only make Australians look bad. They also wrote an article about me. Also, Clive Hamilton mentioned Sydney Today in his book, Silent Invasion. So he categorizes them as part of the problem with Chinese people in Australia. And one thing I noticed is that they were arguably weaponizing outrage against Australians, and that's what they did to me. I was attacked with 400 Chinese people living in Australia who abused me, threatened to kill me, violence, you know the deal, the usual stuff. So I want to go through a few of their articles today, like Australian Chinese discriminate against us real Chinese. Keep in mind there's a difference between Chinese people who are fresh off the boat and arrived in Australia, can't really speak too much English, and they have a big attitude as if they rule the world, and Australian born Chinese who are Australians and identify as Australians. There's a big difference there, but clearly Sydney Today is letting the Chinese who they think are real Chinese, fresh off the boat in Australia and do not identify as Australians, and saying that they're getting discriminated against by the Australian Chinese. Australia is infested with naked men. Immigration is discriminating against us poor Chinese. There's too many white sculptures. We need to reduce the amount of anything that represents white people, of course, in Australia. Chinese girl says the Australian universities are stupid and poor. Australian police are racist. And one thing which I think is really offensive, and that's the real crux of today's video, is in case you're not aware of it, they buy baby milk formula, and the Chinese people, then they get on WeChat and they find buyers in China and they sell it in China for, say, 2, 3, even 4 times what they buy it for. So they're just playing the middleman. They're not doing anything special. They're not doing anything super intelligent. They're just playing the middleman, and they're emptying the shelves in Australia, which in fact is putting up the prices. In the article, they mention this poor lady who had to drive further just to get some baby formula for her Australian baby because all the Chinese are trying to make money off it. Another thing that's really annoying is when I went through the article, one of the comments was saying, well, maybe you should just increase the price of baby formula. See, this is offensive to all people in Australia, and this is what happens in China, and they're trying to destroy Australia from within, and this is just another example of it. See, we have cheap baby formula. This is something good about Australia, and just because a few greedy immigrants want to buy it, skim off the top and be the middleman just so that they can profit off it, why should the rest of us Australians suffer because of it? It is offensive in so many different ways that they're even suggesting that they should increase the price, but that is what is happening. So if you're about to have a child, you're going to end up paying more, And also, a lot of people are going to be taking it off the shelves, and you might not even have any for yourself. This is the angle that Sydney Today the website were playing. Now, on YouTube, they uploaded this video.
So you said I can't buy that because you have to leave that for Australian kids, right?
Yeah.
So my daughter are not Australian kids, right? Is that right?
I'm sorry, but my supervisors told me no.
So let your supervisor tell to me.
You want to say the next person will be?
I'm so surprised.
I want to take care of this.
Because my Asian face?
My problem with this video is the lady clearly sounds like she's in her 50s. She has a strong North Chinese accent. I can hear it. She's so Beijing, it's not funny. When you have so many Chinese mobs running in there and buying so much milk powder that they've had to lock it behind shelves, they've had to put signs up saying maximum of 3 per person. So what the Chinese do is they have someone mind their bag or shopping trolley out the front. They go in, buy 3, they go outside, put it in the basket, they go buy another 3, put it back in the basket. Now, my problem with this lady is that she didn't film her own face. We don't know the context. Does she have a trolley full of baby formula just outside the store, and that's why they're refusing to sell her anymore? And the most offensive thing about all of this is she says, oh, it's my Asian face. So, see, this is what Sydney Today is doing. They are creating race hate and weaponizing it in Australia. If the Chinese can't get away with something, what they do is they get angry, they call out racism, and then they just try to create this race hate. And all the people that follow Sydney Today then go and attack, say, businesses like Woolworths. Now, I definitely don't think that Woolworths is racist, because what I would do is I would look at all the Chinese businesses in that region and realize that the Chinese have not hired anybody other than Chinese. I think that's racist. Then I go into Woolworths and I see that they've hired all the rainbow of different nationalities. You see people from the subcontinent, you see black people, you see all these different people from all over the world working in a Woolworths. Woolworths is not racist because it's an Australian company and they do the right thing by their people. Also, Woolworths provides Wi-Fi and they provide these extra things which no Chinese business or supermarket in Australia does. So Woolworths is good for Australia. And these Chinese businesses that do not hire any local people, you go to a Chinese supermarket that hires an Australian, send me a link, let me know, take a photo, let me know. I bet you can't find one.
Call the police. Stop. Delete the video. Delete the video. I'll call the police. A moment. I'll call the police. Wait here. Stop here. Stop here, sir. I'll call the police.
Don't touch me.
I won't touch me, but you do not
touch
leave.
me.
I won't touch you, but you have to stay here.
Do not touch me.
Yeah, I won't. Yeah. Okay, wait here.
If you stop me, I will charge you.
Hello, sir.
I called
Someone is using his phone to. Yes, I'm calling the police. Sir, don't leave, okay? Someone is using his phone to record us without my permission. Sorry? Sir, I will not touch you, but you cannot leave, okay?
Do not touch me.
Sir, someone is using his phone to record me, but without my permission. Without my.
Now finally, let's break down this. So, you're allowed to film in public, of course. And this Chinese guy obviously didn't know that. He obviously felt a little bit guilty because he didn't want the filming to happen, right? So then he decided to stop him. He laid his hand on someone in the street who was filming him. Then, you got to understand the mentality of the person that is saying, look, stop right there, don't go anywhere, I'm calling the police. The mentality of this person is that I'm superior to you. I might not understand the laws in your country, but I could possibly be part of the Chinese Communist Party, and nobody in my reality has ever messed with me. No one's ever questioned me, and I have this local, lower class, bogan Australian in my face, and I'm going to tell you who's the boss by calling the police, and you better stay there. That's the way I see this. And this guy clearly has this attitude as if he is above it all. He is superior. And we all know that you can film in public. That if you're if you see a celebrity, or you see the media following people out of a courtroom, it happens every day. Like if you come out of a courtroom, or you're just say a model's walking down the street, or a famous actor, the paparazzi go chase them down and take photos. This guy clearly doesn't know anything about our rules or our laws, because he thinks that he can call the police on someone for filming him. I'd like to see how that conversation went down. It says a lot about where he comes from. It makes me believe that this guy could be a part of the Chinese Communist Party, because keep in mind, a lot of the people that come to Australia, the people who like democracy don't leave China, by the way. They're not allowed out of the country. The first people, the rich ones, they're the ones that are connected to the party that leave the country. And this guy clearly has this attitude as if he is above it all. He is superior. It's a lot more complicated than what you might believe. There's actual websites trying to weaponize outrage, create race hate within this country. Clearly that's what they're doing. Us Chinese are the victims all the time, and playing the victim and also playing the oppressor all the time, and it just seems like they're just trying to cause trouble in this country. And this is not an old game. This game's been played for a very long time. Think about it. America's been playing it for a long time. How often do we see America cause trouble and civil war and get the CIA to go and cause trouble in these countries? And you know what we think? They have a civil war. They have a little civil war. It breaks down the country. The social fabric falls away. Their politicians and their government isn't able to rule anymore. And then a foreign power like America is able to come in there, take over, or invade, or they pay off some insurgents within the country. How often does that happen? And we watch it happen through our news, and we think, oh, idiots. They fell for it. They started fighting each other within their own country. They created a civil war and they destroyed it, not just for the people who they were fighting against within their country, but they destroyed it for everybody. And then America went in there and took over the country. If this happens in Australia, what do you think people outside our borders will think about us? We will be the idiots that fell for the exact same trick, and the Chinese did it to us. Let's not let that happen. Let's try to keep this place peaceful. Let's try to work together, understand. We need to be on the same page. We also need to think of peaceful ways to solve our problems. I've had a lot of Australian people leaving comments saying that they're going to go to that pub when I made that video a couple days ago. They're going to go to the pub and get angry. No, when violence is not going to solve it. We need mature discussion, and we need things to change. We don't need some bogans to chuck a tantrum and get all violent. That's not going to solve anything. That's in fact part of the problem, and that's in fact something that will cause the social fabric of this beautiful country Australia to fall apart and allow us to be invaded. Final point, and the most important point, is that this has nothing to do with baby formula for me. This has everything to do with an Australian made product which is made within Australia, within Australian borders, within our laws, where we can control it, and we're still not taking the proper steps to protect our economy and the milk industry within Australia, and allowing immigrants in Australia to become the middleman and skim off the top of our profits. Think about this. If we can't protect it within our own borders, how do we expect to be able to protect our products, our hard work, our technologies outside of our borders? And if our government's not able to take the proper steps to protect these milk industries, this milk powder, and how do we expect them to protect other aspects of the Australian economy from this type of black market that the Chinese have created? We can't. And this is part of the model that I've set out for Australia. Economic collapse and the total annihilation of the Australian people by 2034. If we cannot protect something so simple as a milk powdered product within Australia, how do we expect to be able to protect something more valuable in the future, which is exported abroad? Think about it, people. This is far more serious than I think anybody is given it credit for. So people, wake up to what's really going on. So if you like this video, make sure you click the subscribe button, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on anything. Follow me on Instagram, and I've also got a Twitter as well. Don't let fear stop ya.